It all began by a deal gone sour, and the deal gone sour is between Volvo and Renault, and everybody decided to focus onto themselves, and the focusing here was significantly done by Volvo. And the car I'm about to introduce to you is the car that Volvo came up with. This was designed in 1997, but it saw the light of day in the early 2000s, and this is the car that changed the fortunes for Volvo, because Volvo was initially being bought by old men who loved the boxy and safety aspect of the Volvo. But this was the curvaceous Volvo S90 that was designed to come and meet the other target market, and the other target market is people like me. Look at that beauty, beautiful, elegant, and just subtle. But this era came into another transition where Ford Motor Corporation bought Volvo, and with Ford Motor Corporation and years going by came another era of the Volvo S80, and this is the P3 platform of the Volvo S80. Again, more improvements. They kept their safety, more curves, more elegance, a few design cues and there with the headlights and all that you need to get your formidable driving experience in a Volvo. And with Ford, they decided to do their own thing. So in this car, they pumped in their own engines, the 1.6 Ford EcoBoost and the 2-liter Ford EcoBoost. But that was not all. They retained the original Volvo engines like the 2500cc turbocharged, the 3.2 and the Sirius V8 co-developed by Yamaha. So done with that, gone with Ford, and with Ford came a new owner. Volvo changed a bit of hands here. It's like a girlfriend who was on an active spree of changing relationships. So with a new owner called Gilly, Volvo decided to bring in a new, sleek looking, beautiful version of the S80. So they say this is not a continuation of the S80, but this is a new product, again based on the scalable product architecture. This is the new Volvo S90. Welcome to another exciting episode of Conversations Kanisa, and I believe today as well we have an exciting product, among the first few S90s to be in the Kenyan market space today. And before I get into it, I would like to ask you, kindly subscribe to our channel. Kama hujaona vitu ni moto, we are just warming up, because the next review after this is going to be another banger. So kindly subscribe, sit back, relax, and this review is made possible by KDG Imports. If you want to buy any car from them, and currently they have quite good deals. I think they call it October deals. Visit them along Gong Road opposite Prestige and talk to a guy called Ibra or KDG, and if he doesn't hook you up with a good deal, rudi hapa na uniambie, alafu mimi ndamuongelesha. We see how to fix that. Without further ado, let's get into the review of the Volvo S90 2017, to be precise, as the year of model. One thing I can tell you for a fact is Volvo are not playing games when it came to the design of the Volvo S90. And on this car, they went in all hot. Look at those curves. Look at those lines flowing all the way to the rear of this car. Makes looking at a Mercedes-Benz and a BMW, maybe it could rival the Audi A6, but those two, it's a joke. The grille with your chrome appendages, with the iron dome design of that logo with a Volvo emblem on it, just makes this car look aggressive and very intimidating to the eyes. This is something that Mercedes-Benz will not want to look at, especially when this car is driving towards you. You have your aggressive bumper at the lower part, which makes this car again a bit sporty and elegant at the same time. But most interestingly is the new redesigned Thor hammer headlight design, and the Thor hammer here is what gives you the daylight running. It makes this car look beautiful, especially on a day that there's a cast, hakuna jua, and the car is just flowing towards you. If you're meeting it head on, come on, Come on, Volvo. You killed it on this one. And these headlights are full LED and they're adaptive as well. It means if you're turning at night and driving along a curvious road, again, they are able to curve with you anytime you steer along the curves. And that is an element of safety that Volvo has had for the entirety of the generation of the S80, and now we're talking about the S90. You have your active fog lights again when you're taking your bends. When you slow down, it illuminates your path when you're taking those corners to just make sure that your safety is guaranteed. Now Siguare, this nice looking front bumper. And with all that, I think it's time for us to discuss the side profile. And the beauty and the elegance of this car flows all the way to the side profile. It's a car, unlike many cars that lose the stature or the feel of beauty when you look at it from the side, the Volvo S90 kept all that in check. And when it comes to the side profile, one thing you'll notice here is, look at that curve. It has a coupe design curve that flows all the way to the rear, and that makes this car quite beautiful, especially on the side. Your chrome appendages are still going on. Chrome there, chrome on the doors, and I told you guys a secret. Anytime you see chrome, it means it's more of a luxury spec. And talking about the spec, this is the inscription, and the inscription is the topmost luxury spec of any Volvo. So if you talk about the XC90 inscription, it means it's the one that comes with all the bells and the whistles. So this is the inscription. So you have your chrome there, you have your 360 camera with your side bling on the side mirror, making this car beautiful. Kuja hapa mbele again, these are 20-inch wheels alloy, and on the inscription this comes as standard. Okay, 20-inch mbele, 20-inch nyuma, and they come packed with your brakes, disc, both at the front and the rear. Let's talk about suspension. So when you're buying the Volvo S90, this you'll get double wishbone at the front, and the rear you'll get a multi-link independent suspension, and all this coupled up together makes this car quite interesting to drive. The handling, I can't compare it with the BMW or the Mercedes-Benz per se, but I can tell you it gives you a feel of premiumness and a bit of sportness when it comes to handle. But something else I need to tell you is this car can come with an option of air suspension. So if you don't want this kind of setup, you can still get an air suspension system on the Volvo S90. But something else I want to talk about that is quite important, especially on the Kenya roads, is the ground clearance. Look at that ground clearance. So on the Kenyan roads, our normal bumps, Kura wanasema ya kwamba they're supposed to be 6.4 inches, right? That is the standard. So if you buy a car that is 6.5 inches, it means you are able to clear the bumps very well. But those are not bumps that you'll find in some parts of Nairobi, because there are other parts of Nairobi where the bump ni kaburi ya mutu, but we will not talk about that. But this car has an epic ground clearance. That is courtesy of the 20-inch wheels, and this kind of ground clearance is what makes this car more Kenyan adapted. And definitely in comparison with the Mercedes-Benz, especially the AMG package, this is a formidable car and a formidable choice for anyone who plans to go ushago, as we always call it. Come all the way to the rear of this car and let me show you a beautiful design. This is the look that when you are driving your 2-liter Mercedes-Benz, and I'm talking here the ones that come with a 274. I know I'm a victim of that because I drive one, but when you have your 2-liter 274 and you try to joke around with the Volvo S90, this is what you'll be looking at as that car cruises past you in speeds that you cannot even try to catch up. An L-shaped rear taillight LED that splits. One bit remains on the car and the other bit goes all the way on the boot. And before I show you the practicality of the Volvo S90, there are a few things that we need to talk about. One, I love the newer design of the Volvo badge at the rear. It cuts across the entire boot, and the way they've hidden their boot opening button is just slightly down here, which makes it quite nice. I'm still trying to figure out where is the rear camera. It's here. See it? Quite good. Place it in a very strategic place. Kama uji, you might not see it. But let's talk about the T6, the inscription, and the all-wheel drive system. So the T6, I'll talk about this when you talk about what is under the hood of this car. But the T6, we can say, is the second most powerful version of the Volvo S90. And the inscription is the high package version of the Volvo S90. Of course, we know about the all-wheel drive system of the Volvo S90. I think this features the Haldex all-wheel drive system, and I've talked to you about the Haldex all-wheel drive system. It's an all-wheel drive system that is featured across most cars. And if you remember right on the review of the VW Tiguan, I told the Haldex all-wheel drive system is the one that prioritizes the front wheel drive system, and it only kicks in when you really need it to kick in the rear wheel. So that is the same system you have on this particular Volvo S90. Let's talk about practicality. Very nice. So what you get here, in comparison to, let's say, a Mercedes-Benz E-Class, you get like a bit, maybe 10% less in terms of boot space on what you'll get on a Mercedes-Benz E-Class. But something else that this car has that the Mercedes-Benz E-Class doesn't have is the width of access to your luggage. It means it's wider, so you can load a more wider luggage into this particular car. And something else that you won't find on the E-Class, or maybe even the BMW, is what you find on this particular car, and that is the space saver wheel that you have here as a spare tire. It is located down here. And something else, I think we are used to these ones, the side net here that you can put your small things that you don't want to affect the many things that you've done shopping with. Then you have your 12 volt there, then you have your hooks to just tie your luggages after doing your shopping. Something else that is a bummer that most people will not really care about in the Kenyan market space is the fact that you have a hump when you're loading or unloading your stuff from this particular car. Do Kenyans really pay attention to those things? And again, guys said I can't put Mbugwa here, but just know the boot space is quite practical for any Kenyan family. Let's talk about the engine and the transmission on this car and get to see what has Volvo exactly done on this particular car, and is it reliable for the Kenyan market. To understand what is under the hood of the Volvo S90, I have to take you a bit back in time. And this time again is 1994, and Volvo was in the hustle with their first generation S80, which is the Volvo S80 P2, to design a car that will meet, quote unquote, the target market they are going after. The sales were doing bad, and Volvo are being thrown all over, being bought from one company to the other. And so they had to come up with a strategy. And the strategy was to move their cars from a rear wheel drive system to a front wheel drive system. And that front wheel drive system guaranteed them two things. One, it gave them better fuel economy numbers, and number two, it made it easy for them to turn over or to make more cars to meet the target market. Plus, the transverse design of engines were also able to mitigate one important thing that was coming up, and that was emissions. Apparently, a transversely mounted engine is good in terms of better emissions, or to disperse of better emissions compared to a straight engine. And that is what you get in the Volvo S90. But this one here is a special new type of engine, because what you get here is the new design engine from Volvo, which they call the VEA. I've talked about these engines, so I'll just go through with a quick span. So what you get here is a 2-liter engine, turbocharged and supercharged at the same time. And that is what we get on the T6. But you can also get this car in a T5 configuration, and that will have a turbocharger paired to this particular 2-liter engine. This particular engine is the same across all the cars, and that is courtesy of the scalable product architecture, which is an architecture that was designed by Geely and Volvo. Remember, Volvo currently in this position, in this state, they are operating autonomously within the Geely Motor Corporation. So they are not being controlled or being forced to do one or two other things, unlike the relationship they had with Ford. And you need to know, at this particular age right now in 2024, Volvo controls around 22%. Actually 22% is being owned by the public, and what you get here is Geely owns around 72% of Volvo Motor Corporation. Let's come back to the engine. So what you get here is a universal engine across all the Volvos coming out currently. And on this platform, the good thing is you don't get the Geely incentivized 1.5 turbocharged, be it petrol or diesel engine. You only get the 2-liter. So you get the T5, you get the T6, and you get the all-powerful T8. And this particular engine is churning out 320 HP paired to 400 Newton meters of torque. And I can tell you without a doubt that this is among the most powerful 2-liter engine. The other 2-liter engine that I know that is powerful is on the Mercedes-Benz lineup. Again, it's transversely mounted and it's found on the Mercedes-Benz A45, and that is the M133. I think that is the only one that pushes a bit more horsepower than this particular engine that you get here. So let's talk about what is paired to this particular engine. So what you get here is an 8-speed IC transmission, the same transmission that you'll find in most Lexus, like the Lexus RX 350. So it's quite reliable, it's quite formidable, and it will serve you well. Let's talk about the problems that you might encounter if you choose to buy this car. And you need to understand that this engine is in the 2nd or 3rd generation right now. If you choose to buy 2018 onwards, it's on the 3rd generation. But if you buy the earlier versions between year 2015 and year 2016, then that is the early generation. The early generation had a myriad of issues. So the good thing is this particular that I'm reviewing is a 2017, so most of those issues have been revised. But the common ones that you'll get is the seals of the supercharger going bad that will require you to replace, and the job is labor intensive, so you might pay more to the mechanic, but the part itself is not quite expensive. Apparently the supercharger has a kit of seals that you need to repair and change over a period of time. But if that seal goes bad, the error code that you'll get is what we call the car is running lean. Maybe a check engine on your dashboard, and the diagnosis will say the car is running lean. The other problem that you have are things that have been moved over from the first modular engine designed by Volvo. Again, the first Volvo I showed you, my Volvo, runs a 2-liter 5-cylinder turbocharged engine, and that 2-liter has two very important things. Number one is the PCV valve, so it carried those problems again to this particular car. So occasionally you also need to change your PCV valve and make sure that this engine breathes quite well. The second problem is you need to know that this car is belt driven, so over time, again, just like the early generation of the Volvo engines, you need to check on your belt and make sure you replace it in due time. The comfort and luxury on the Volvo S90 is still felt at the rear of this car. Look at those brown perforated seats, but you don't get them cooled, unlike the front. Neither do you get them ventilated, and you also don't get the massage. But what you can do is you can hit your bumps. That is kind of a bummer, because I presume whoever is buying this car will mostly likely be driven seated at the rear of this car. But apparently Volvo felt hiyo kitu si ya maana kuweka huku nyuma. Anyway, what else do you get? You get quite convenient features like your cup holders that are hidden here. Then you get your storage hub, and then you have another hidden storage here. You also have an opening that you can carry a long luggage. Sijui luggage itakuwa nini, but whatever it is, in Kenya it doesn't work. But if you are in Sweden, maybe you'll be doing your ski, so it could actually be positioned to run through the boot of the car all the way to the interior of this particular car. Something else, again, this car is child friendly, so you have your isofix points that are covered quite nice. Hizo unafungua si kama za Toyota unakunya kiti ndo upate. These are quite positioned well with their covers, and all you do is just you open up to access them. 4-zone climate control, so hapa nyuma every passenger is able to adjust their own way of feeling when it comes to temperature. If you want cold, you can get cold. If I want hot, I can get hot. Mtu wa lift hapa katikati, you will have a bit of a problem, especially if you're a huge guy, because there's a huge transmission tunnel that is running below my foot. But the good thing is this car is quite wide, so it can actually work. Let's say for a Kenyan guy who is not as big as Mbugua 5 years ago, you can as well be transported in this particular car. So let's check out the front of this car and see what other convenient features do you get at the front of the Volvo S90. This being the highest trim level of the Volvo S90, that is the inscription. It comes with all the bells and whistles, and bell number one is the Bowers and Wilkins, 1400 of watts paired to 9 speakers. And I can tell you for a fact the sound from this car is short of a beauty. It's like you are in a disco that has been designed and made for the execs or luxury of the rich people. It's just perfectly balanced for any years. Hii ni gari ukitoka kwa Toyota uingia hapo sikiza muziki, you hate your life and you wish you'll get money to buy a good car. Anyway, real wood finish, Mercedes-Benz copy that, real wood finish. And it's only not here, it's all the way to this side, and also on this compartment here you'll still get some appendages of wood, 2 cup holders, quite conveniently placed. Look at that crystal start and stop button. You know, maneno ya kufinya button, Volvo said no, and that makes it quite interesting. Your drive option select again, it's quite beautiful. It makes you enjoy changing your driving modes. I'll talk about these driving modes when you're driving this car on the road, but the most important thing that I also want to tell you about this car is the beauty of the infotainment system. So what you get here is a 9-inch touch, and the touch is quite intuitive and easy to operate. And this infotainment system is Apple CarPlay enabled and Android Auto enabled as well, which makes this car quite awesome. Your climate controls are accessed through this infotainment system, but Volvo has made it possible for you to have your entertainment buttons like next, before, after being accessed here. Coming back to the seat, Napa leather, brown finish, quite beautiful and comfortable. And one thing I'll tell you, coming from the Volvo S80, even though it's a 2003 Volvo S80, I felt something different when I sat in the Volvo XC90. I don't know whether the seats are the same, but in this one I feel a bit more comfortable, and the cushioning here is quite nice and easy. I'm just feeling relaxed in these seats. The perforation is quite clear. You can see they are ventilated, and they have a massage option. They are cooled and heated at the same time. Volvo was going all guns blazing in this version of the Volvo S90. And not only that is top there, look at that. You have your, is it knee or lap support? You can just extend it to make sure that if you're a tall person, if you want your knee support, again, you can achieve that through these seats. Whiplash can be avoided, and these are technology that again Volvo came up with in their early versions of their Volvos. One aspect of them being quite safe. And something else that is interesting, when you look at the belt, it's written since 1959. And since 1959, this is the year that Volvo invented the seat belts, and they share this technology for free with other automakers. And that is the legacy that Volvo still keeps up to today. Before I talk about the storage compartments and the level of options that you can get as extras and the safety features as well that you get when you buy the Volvo S90, just know that you have the courtesy of having a sunroof. The other sunroof I saw that was small was the one that belonged to the Patrol Nissan. But this one is sizable and it's active. It means I can lift it off. It takes time. And I can put it back as well. Quite interesting, quite easy. I think if you have children, they'll be hanging there. But let's talk about the storage compartment that you get when you buy the Volvo S90. You have a huge storage compartment here with your manuals in case you need to refer to anything. Volvo makes that easy. You have another storage compartment here that is quite small. Let me see if it can fit a phone. My phone can fit there. You have a disc location where you can put in your discs. What bado unacheza CD paka leo? Sio hiyo CD, but CD ya muziki. Yeah, you have a disc here, you have USB. Actually, there are 2 USB ports, and you have your aux as well. But why do you need that when you can do your Android Auto or your Apple CarPlay? Something else just take note is the bottles. You can fit here maybe even a 1.5 liter bottle can actually fit here. And it does it quite comfortably, which is quite nice. 2 cup holders here, one there and the second one there. Convenient features. I wish they had a place I could charge my phone wirelessly. Unfortunately, you don't get that in this Volvo S90. And as you go to drive this car, one stupid thing that I hate or I don't like about this particular car is the idea that you can have all that and still do this manually. Instantly, when you're driving the Volvo S90, there's some sort of characteristics that I'll try to, share with you. So do you remember when you have a girlfriend, boyfriend, wife or husband, and you've done right by them, and kidogo you've also left them some money, they can go do their manicure, pedicure, whatever that is, and the look that you get the next day morning after you do that, let's say today night, the next day morning, the calmness, the smile, everything is all that is translated down to how it feels to drive this car when it's in a calm mode. Your driving mode, it's in eco or the everyday use mode, and this car is just easy and seamless. It's quite comfortable, to say the least. It's quite comfortable. The suspension feel on this car is just epic and beautiful. There's something that Volvo have done with the rear suspension, and they've done their own version of an engineered minor little leaf spring that makes the handling of this car, the rear, quite good. Even as a passenger, being ferried at the back of this car just feels quite good. I don't feel like I've lost anything coming from the old school Volvo S80 and translating myself into this newer version of the S90. It's calm. The driving dynamics on the Volvo lineup has been retained fully, and that is something that I really love about this car. But let's talk about some few bad and interesting things. Number one is I don't love the IC transmission. Not because it's not reliable, it's one of the most reliable transmission that you can always buy on any car. But for an enthusiast or a person who loves driving, there is something that the IC transmissions do that is not something that people like. But you can only feel it if you are a car guy, if you're deep into it. When you put your feet down, instantly you want to go, there is always a second of whether it wants to shift upwards or it wants to shift downwards. It kind of loses a vibe somewhere there, and for me that is a no. I wish Volvo would have engaged the 8 speeds, the def on this particular car. It will have been a killer. It will have been perfect. 8 speeds, the def on this one. Now we are talking business. But one thing that I love on the flip side is the engine output. So now, as I said before, 320 HP, 400 Newton meters of torque, supercharger, turbocharger. Supercharger makes it quite convenient for you to accelerate in this car because there is almost zero turbo lag. Away from that second thinking where the IC transmission kicks in, there is almost zero turbo lag. Like, you don't feel anything, and it puts on the power instantly, and then you go. And all that is made easy and comfortable by the digital cluster, and it just makes the car feel a good vibe. I think Volvo cooked on this one. They really cooked. You have your heads-on display, and something I need to talk about is the technology that you get when you're buying the Volvo S90. I'll give it to Mercedes-Benz. When it comes to the Distronic Plus system, I think they've done a good job. The same applies here. You have your adaptive cruise control. It works fine. You have your pilot assist, which is the semi-autonomous driving system that you get on the Volvo. Okay, both of them are fantastic, but the Mercedes-Benz is more superior. I know I'm not talking about BMW and Audi because those guys don't believe you should be doing autonomy driving. They want you to get into the car and drive and feel how the car drives. So for BMW, the adaptive cruise control, and if you're a BMW driver, you will never need to use it unless you're a Mercedes-Benz guy juxtaposing as a BMW guy. You see what I did there? So everything is spot on. I feel the comfort of driving this car. The noise cancellation, there's a just big bus passing beside me, and the noise cancellation is superb. It's a comfortable car. We can comfortably say this is a luxury sedan. They've dialed in all those aspects. Now, forget the calm girl, forget the calm boyfriend, forget the calm wife. Put her in dynamic mode and she becomes a monster instantly. And this is where you realize you didn't leave her any pocket money and you did not do right by her the last night. So she's angry, and angry she is. Ooh! There she goes. And do you know what else is superior and interesting and better in the market right now, just like the Volvo S90? It's Shell fuel cell. So anytime you're thinking of fueling your car and you need superior fuel that will guarantee you a clean engine, fuel that will give you an extra mile, fuel that will give you better lubrication, then don't go anywhere. Stop to any Shell petrol station and have your car run on the best formulation of fuel in the market right now. Shell fuel cell. Na kama unaendesha gari kama, you know what you need to get. It is Shell V-Power. 3 times all the additives you get on your Shell fuel cell unleaded. And without further ado, I'm going to take a stop, put this car into a stance, and launch her 0 to 100 and see how does she do or perform against the competition. So I want to launch this car, and I'll just go through all the driving options that you get here. So you have Eco, which is the most fuel efficient mode that you can drive this car. You have Comfort for everyday use. It combines a bit of Eco mode and a bit of better driving dynamics there. Then you have the highest performance, which is Dynamic. So Dynamic is what is the most performance oriented driving mode you can put on this car. You have Individual, which you can customize. You can put your suspension on Comfort, and then the rest you can put on high performance. It's down to what you like. So I'm going to put her in Dynamic, and then I believe we are ready. I believe we are ready to launch this car from 0 to 100 and see how does she perform. My drag is already on. And one more thing before we launch, I'm going to activate my massage, because nothing beats launching a car 0 to 100 while you're being massaged. So I'm going to put everything high on massage, advanced, high, and then we launch. Are you guys ready? Let's do that. Massage seat activated. I'm going to put advanced. Intensity I'm going to put on high, and speed I'm going to put to fast, and I'm ready. Brake boost. Yeah! There we go. Woo! And brake. What? That's special, man. That's what? Come on, Volvo, you're doing magic. Okay, fine. The numbers are out, guys. So 0 to 100 in 6.67 seconds. The launch was good. The all-wheel drive system is perfect for a car that is non-hybrid in comparison to what we had on the Honda Legend. This is non-hybrid. It's pure, a 2-liter engine. Remember the Legend, we had a 3.5 liter paired to a hybrid motor. And guys, 6.67 seconds 0 to 100, but 100 to 0 in 5.14. I believe the braking is not the best. I think this is the highest braking distance we've done so far in any car. But the 0 to 100, it's magic. It's magic. I know I can get better numbers, but can we do another pull? Can we? Okay. Let me reset. Let's see if we can get anything better. You guys are ready? Dynamic, brake boost, and go! And 100. Let's see, do we have anything better than what we got? Let me see. Yes! We got something better. I knew it. 6.18 seconds. There you go, guys. 6.18 seconds 0 to 100. And that is beautiful. I think I lost some few horses on the launch, the first launch. The second launch, 6.18 seconds. This guy is rated at 5.9. So it's perfect, spot on. What a beautiful car. Let's talk about value for money. Before I talk value for money, there's something I need to talk about. That is fuel economy. When you go to an average meter on this car, if I go driver performance, I can see it gives me an average of 19.1 kilometers per liter. And I think that is an overall average. That means this car being driven maybe from Mombasa all the way here, and you're putting her in eco mode, and you're driving very nicely and easily, you can get very, very good fuel economy numbers. But right now, the pulls I've done, the driving I've done, I've just averaged on my short trip meter 7.5 kilometers to a liter. So if you wanted to ask about how fuel efficient this car is, there you go. On long trips, I think you'll enjoy this car and have better fuel economy. And short trips, I think you'll take a beating for a minute. But one thing you need to know is, according to Volvo, this car is rated at an average of around 12-13 kilometers to a liter, which is quite good fuel economy. And I know that's an average, meaning it's city and highway as well. So let's do value for money and see where does this car actually lose and where does it gain. And I can tell you for a fact, having driven it, it loses when it comes to the driver dynamics. I feel Mercedes-Benz, BMW and Audi have done a good job in terms of just making their cars driver-centric. This is a comfortable car, considering it's a front-wheel drive. It's not a rear-wheel drive, it's all-wheel drive, but front-wheel bias. Again, it just buys out on the idea of the driver-centric nature of any sedan. And this is not something you'll want to say it is 100% driver-centric. If you want a car that performs and makes you happy when you drive, ultimately 10 over 10, buy a BMW or a Mercedes-Benz. The Audi will come third, but again, that is the numbers. Not saying that this is way worse. In fact, if you've never driven a Mercedes-Benz, if you've never driven a BMW or an Audi, you will never even tell the difference. This is as well a superior car, but I'm just telling you, if you put all those in the same line and drive them, the three will come tops when it comes to the driver-centric nature of the design and dynamics. So let's do value for money and discuss how does Volvo S90 perform against its competition. Let's talk about value for money. What are the reasons that I would buy the Volvo S90? The Volvo S90 wins in so many areas, and the first area is the design language. Let's not argue about it. This is the most attractive and beautiful car in its class. You can't compare this to the BMW 5 Series. You can't compare this to the Mercedes-Benz E-Class, be it the MG version. You can't put this car next to it. I'm a Mercedes-Benz lover, but I'll tell you for a fact, when it comes to design, language and beauty, this car takes it home any day, anytime. The other place that this car wins significantly is in the interior luxury and minimalistic design language. Again, it translates down to the design language. As I said before, Volvo were not playing games when it came to this car. So this car, you get premium aspects and options when you buy the Volvo S90, especially if you decide to go with the inscription version. And the other place that this car wins again is, regardless of you pushing 316 horsepower, that is according to other sources, but Volvo says it actually puts out 320 HP and 400 Newton meters of torque. This car will give you epic fuel economy. On this particular one, I was able to average 19.1 kilometers per liter. Who gets that on any car such powerful as the Volvo S90? So that is another important winning point for the Volvo S90. And most importantly, and the last one, is the price preposition. So when you buy this particular car, especially for the 2017 or this particular one, you'll be spending around 3.9 million Kenya shillings. If you talk to KDG well, or you talk to Brad KDG well, I know you can get a better deal on this unit. So it could be even go lower than 3.9 by a small margin. And tell me what other car between the Mercedes-Benz or the Audi S6 or the BMW 5 Series that you can get for 2017 year of model for less than 4 million Kenya shillings. That is why the Volvo S90 is the perfect car for you to buy. And where does it lose as a sign out? It loses when it comes to the driver dynamics. This car is not as fancy, is not as interesting, is not as epic to drive as what you'll find in the entire three competitors that it has, as the Audi S6, the Mercedes-Benz A-Class and the BMW 5 Series. And the good thing is, if you choose to buy this car, I need you to rest assured that this car has undergone all the mechanical inspections to just give you the assurance that this car is safe and secure to buy. And that is courtesy of CarSure. Log on to www.carsure.africa and download all the necessary report that you require to confirm whether this car is viable mechanically to buy and drive on the Kenyan road. I've been your host, Papa Askofu himself, and this time round, let me also remind you to follow me at a personal level on Facebook, Instagram, X, Sina TikTok, but I can work on it if you guys tell me to do so. And I hope I see you again next week for another exciting episode of Conversations Kanisa. On behalf of the entire team at Conversation, Mr. Fabian himself, Bugwa, Mwema, and the entire guys that make this episode possible. Adios, muchachos, and see you on the next one.